Shut up and sit down.
Hello again, welcome to part 13 of the Death Race Mustang, and I think we can add some walls to the Dio today. There's the Mustang, and I might have been 3D printing, folks, so we'll leave that there for a sec. Probably not its final position, but I've done a bit of barrels and give them a quick brush paint just to see whether or not my idea was going to work. So they're going to sit in the corner, and then we've got bits of walls, see, barrels, bits of corrugated iron, things like that, bricks and that, and I've merged them all together and made some walls up. See? So there's a couple of walls that have already been joined with a bit of the super glue, and that's going to basically form an L shape around the back of the car. And it's basically Frankenstein's pulled up in the corner there of the race course, got out of his car to go over and do the business, and it's a scene out of the film. So yeah, to create the whole scene I would have needed about a 16-foot diorama, so I've just gone for a little snippet of it and sort of cobbled a few bits together, so I'm happy with that. So I think we need to start figuring out how to join this together, and I'll probably weld it together because I've got myself a little 3D print. It's like a miniature soldering iron that runs off a USB. So I'll move this out of the way and we'll leave the bits that I'm going to be working on the bench for now. And I need to join the bits and bobs together in an orderly manner. Bit like that. So I'm gonna use my little soldering iron, and I'm just gonna start melting the plastic together just to start it to form a bond, and then if I need to I can then use the 3D pen I've got to run a seam down the side to do any infill. But we'll see how it goes, and we'll have a looky-loo. So that's the little soldering iron there, and it runs off a USB, and I'm just heating up one corner just to have a little dab with the plastic, and then it will start bonding it. And all you're doing is you're using the PLA from the 3D print, which basically melts under heat, and you're joining it all together. And then if you do get any gaps, you can run along with a bit of filament in your hand and give it a bit of the beans. So we'll put a few tacks in, and then we'll start welding our way along the sides of it and just giving it a bit of a drag and a push and a press into the seam, and then you then warm the plastic up and it all melts into one little weld line almost. And once you've got a few tacks in, you can then start adjusting it and picking it up, looking at it, and if it's off you can move it over a bit, and yeah, you get the gist. So we'll just put a little bit of a seam in there, and we can just start now brushing and caressing the plastic to get it to conform to what we're trying to do. And I'm trying to sink it into the ridge of a piece of corrugated so that it continues the shape of the corrugated around that corner. And that's what we're trying to do. So we just literally work our way along, warm a piece up, give it a little brush with the tip, press it into place, and then let it cool down and do the same a bit further along. And that's all you're doing, folks, even, is you're sewing with a soldering iron. It's the best way of saying it. So we'll just press that bit in, get that in place, like so, and work our way back towards my thumb, trying not to burn the tip of my thumb, because that has been known to happen. And then we can pick up from where we left that tack on the corner, and then come round to this side now that we've got the back side done, and see whether or not we can manipulate that corner in a bit better. Sorry about the stubble poking through there, folks. But we're just now going to brush this bottom edge And then we can come back at this top one then, because it's been pressed into place. A little bit of infill plastic went in there. And then the barrels will go in and then they'll reinforce the L shape. See, that's why the barrels are there. If I tack them to that little lump of doorstep type material there, and then this will put almost like a diagonal brace across both walls. And it should, in theory, hold them together. See, so we got to then do a little bit of jiggery pokery to hold it together, but it will go. I just need to wodge a tack across there. And then I've got a little gap in the corner there, and I can get another piece in there that I've got just off shop. So we'll just brush the plastic to get it to start to tack, and then I can melt a nice big chunk and it will start strengthening up then. Just like this. A little bit. Don't go too mad. You just put the heat on, pull the heat away, give it a little stroke. Bob's your uncle. And do the same on this little edge here. Trying to do it without burning my hand. Might need to adjust my grip. Let's have a look. Yeah, there you go. And you've got an infill piece now that I've just put in, and I'm going to melt them together. So we'll just work our way along now. And then you can go at this with a sander if you need to, but because this is going face down on the diode, I'm not that worried about the bottom edges as long as they're flush, or as flush as can be. But this has now really got its strength back now. And I've just braced right across that corner. Like that. And that, pretty solid, I think. So I reckon the old super glue can come out in a bit. And we can get that on the diode. See how it looks. There's the Mustang. There's the walls. Give it a bit of a slapsy in the place and open his door. And Frank, he's going to be stood just by that open door, the figure. So, yeah, I think we can live with that. So, probably draw around the edges of the walls with the carpenter's pencil in a minute, so that I can lay my glue down to get this to stick down. So we've done the gluage, and around the edge of the barrels there where the seam line was, as I've just dropped a bit of gravel in. So we've got the Mustang, we've got the arming discs on the floor there. So I can glue them on. Do that with the car in place, and then I can move the car away because I want to get the brush out and quickly scoot another brush coat of primer down before the airbrush comes out to play, because all the corrugated and everything in the background is going to get misted over with a brown, so that I can then put some chipping fluid down and then put the metal colours down and then start bringing rust through and detritus. And then I can paint the inside of these discs and then pour the resin in to give them that sort of glass look that there is in the film. So I'll just brush a bit of super glue on there. Drop that on. Round about there. So they got the choice then. See, the risk of this is they got to drive towards the disc to arm it, but there's barrels in the corner, so the driver's got to go off course almost to get the disc to come back on, and yeah, you got it. So we can give this a brush now, I reckon. Let's just have a look to see how everything is looking. And then we can just whack the paint in there. Like so. Bit of dabbage and work our way around the discs. Start blending them into the road surface a bit and give the road surface another coat. And then we can come over the road surface once the walls and that have all been weathered. We can do the road surface then and work our way to the edges of the frame. So we're not that far off of being done on this, really. It's just lipstick and mascara. That's all it needs. So we'll whack a bit of that on there, like so. Come around there, try and get the walls and any little gaps. Just ooze the primer in there, just to let it do its thing. And I'm not sort of worried about textures or anything. I'm just stippling it on and randomly putting the primer because I want the top coat to almost have that faded look about it as well. So by using this technique, I find it just gives you subtle differences between the thickness of the paint, and it almost gives you them wear lines on a road. So works for me. Just slabber that towards the gravel. And when all the washes go on, see, the gravel will have a wash over it, so it looks like it's rained, and then it's dried a bit, and the road dirt's gone into a few of the areas. Yeah. Dare I say it, I might give the gravel a coat of my dirty brush water, because it's just that right kind of road grime grey. And I have been known to pour that in the airbrush cup and spray it at the base of a model, just to give it that road dirt misty look. Saves me a bomb on pigment and stuff like that. So yeah, a bit of dirty brush water will do it for me. Just make sure you've glossed your model though. So yeah, have you a bit of that all the way up to the edge, and I'll leave a little bit around it because I want a transition. There you go. A bit more around the road, and then we can whack some more on the walls just to give them a little bit of TLC. Again, not a massive coat because I'm going to skim over this with the brown paint. It's all going to be painted brown. And then the chipping will go on, and then you can expose some of the brown, and then I can go over with rust pigment. So yeah. So there's method to the madness, he says. Work our way along there towards the corner, and then I'll spin the dio around as I come around to do the other wall. And it also gives you a chance to have a look at the walls, doesn't it? See what they're made up of. And it's little sheets of corrugated, bits of brick, bits of wooden gate, just all cobbled together to make what looks like a wall. Yeah, you got it. And the wall would have continued right round, but the zigzagging is basically where I've done a cut-off effect, basically. Trying to, yeah, you got it. So we'll brush paint that. Get down into all the crooks and nannies. Like so. Come around there like that, but you've got some good textures here, because when it comes to the weathering, you've got the texture of the wooden gate, so you can really get in there and do some wood effects. You can do the brick with a brick effect, and the corrugated, like powers of deduction, with a corrugated effect. Yeah. And then you just got a bit of old Essian draped over the drums there, so if anyone's trying to have a looky-loo in to see what's going on, they can just lift that up, push the gate open, and they can see the race. So yeah. So just corrugated a bit of a larrapin along there, like so. A couple of oil drums poking out the bottom there. And again, it just keeps a little bit of interest on the outside, because dare I say it, on dioramas, the one thing that's forgotten is normally the back surfaces of walls. People do them and then they're perfectly smooth. And I just thought, well, if I do a bit of character or a bit of paneling on the back, it just keeps an interest. So we'll have a little painty pops along there, like that. And scoot that down there, like that. And then we can do the longer side then. So we'll have a look at that. There you go, and there's the back side there of the walls with some drums and bits and bobs. So I thought, well, it just creates a bit of interest, doesn't it, for people, where they can think, oh yeah, what's going on behind there? And where that gap is, where the door is, I'm going to put a little bit of material over it so that you can just flick the material back and have a looky-loo, what's behind there, So I've got that to go on. And it just continues that effect. So yeah, slap a bit round in there, like that. And just come along the edges. Like so. Some wooden planks there. So again, you can practice your wood weathering techniques. Like that. And you've got a bit of the old brick surface there. And then do the back side of that wheel drum. Like that. I think we can safely say that that's the priming pretty much finished on there. And now we can start putting a top coat on, I reckon. So yeah, I'll let that dry, and then we'll we'll start getting a bit of grey on there now with the airbrush. And I'm using a little tiny old pot of German grey here that I've thinned down quite a bit. And all I'm initially trying to do is just get different patches and different lines and shades on the tarmac. So it's not going to be the finished coat. This is just going to be blotches that I'm randomly putting around the tarmac, just to give it a bit of slight tonal changes almost, So bear that in mind, folks. And I'm just doing the edges where the shadows would be first, just to darken them up. At the bottom where the walls are and where the barrels are and the gravel, because the gravel would have had dirt detritus, oil stains and stuff that spilt out the drums. So I just put a few streaks here and there, randomise it as if cars have been skidding round the corner or whatever. Sort of oil leaks from the engine, that sort of thing. So I have different shades of grey. We start with a German, then there's going to be a bit of Admiralty grey and then some black and sort of finned black almost, and yeah. So we'll just get some different shades, and then I'll go over it all at the end with a mecha wash just to try to blend it all together and have a little looky-loo to see how that comes out. So we'll just randomise the spray pattern as best we can. Just scoot around the edges and sort of just try to sweep across the base of the diode bit by bit. And just randomise it as best you can, because when you look at tarmac, there's always different colours and tonal changes on it. It's never uniform unless it's absolutely brand new, and then of course once the weather hits it, rain and things like that, and vehicles go around it like a racetrack, it does start to get a racing line form on it. So that's what we're after, and it's just a little corner of the death race world that we're working in at the moment. So we'll come around the edges of the gravel there just to give that a transition. Maybe it's rained and there's a bit of dampness that's accumulated in the corner there, and then work our way around the discs towards the edge of the frame there. And the frame will probably have 2 or 3 coats of black put on it at various times just to make it stand out, and that's only so that I can see that there's going to be a transition. The final coat of black will be done once the diorama's finished. So just randomise a few bits and bobs in there like so. This is the stage that I enjoy the most. Just a bit of lipstick and mascara and just build things up bit by bit by bit, and then all of a sudden the diorama talks to you, and it's quite enlightening. It's like, yeah, that's pretty much it now, and you stop what you're doing because it's spoken and letting you know that it's happy, and it works for me. So we'll just scoot a bit of that in there. Just get a bit of that tip dry off of there. There you go. Bosh. Just quickly give that a dung out. It's a bit cloggy. Right. Let's have a go with this one. And just missed a bit of that on there. I mean, this is the world's oldest pot of grey, by the way, so it's a bit gnarly. So it could well be that the airbrushes are not happy with it, but I'll persevere. Just scoot and do some shade tones and bits and bobs. Like so. There you go. Little bit of jiggage. And then I'll mist over with a bit of black through an apexy just to give it a nice dappled effect. That's the beauty of the apexy. I can turn the pressure right down and hold it further away and just almost let the paint drop down like rain almost, and it just enough to spray it. It works for me. I'll just decant what I don't want back in there. There you go. Pop a little bit round that disc. I think we'll go for a bit of Admiralty in a minute, just to blend in some of them dappled colours. Work my way along there. So we're done with the German grey, I think. Because I want a nice little transition now between that and the gravel. So we've got the apex out now. And we can start giving that a bit of welly. And just work my way over. Like so. And this is an Admiralty in there as well, so we just start doing a bit of rough blending at this stage. Get some oil stains in there, patches and dribbles and all of that. And work my way around the edges and feather them in. Just like so. And that's all you're doing. It's just building it up bit by bit by bit by bit. And this is almost like a little cubbyhole that Frankenstein gets out of his car in the movie to go over and pay someone a visit, should we say. And yeah. So it's a little dark corner of the diorama. No man's land, so to speak. And yeah. We'll just start ghosting that out now towards the edges. And then work our way into where that door is. And I've got a little curtain that's going to go over the back of that door and that window that I'll knock up towards the end. Just to give it a bit of realism. So there's going to be a little bit of material hanging down there. And James will be able to have a peeky pops through there and go, oh look, it's a real curtain. Yeah. Go. Right, let's drop a little bit along the edge of the barrels. We'll have different kinds of metal paint going on the corrugated behind there and rust, and the drums have got to be painted and weathered, so a fair old bit to do. Probably do a dot filter on there as well, a bit of streaking and stuff. So we'll come up along there, put some panel lines in between the wooden slats just to darken up some of the edges. Same with the drums, where the ridges are, just ghost a little bit up there. I must admit, I do love the old Apex airbrush. It's mint. Just wisp along there quite happily, doing its thing, all the way up the edges there, like so. Then we can come round the back, get some in that corner, and then have a little looky look at the back there. I've just noticed I've sprayed a bit of black on my Titanic there. That's all right. Luckily, I gloss coated it, so it'll wipe off after. Note to self, Cole: move other builds out the way if you're painting on the bench. Yeah. Just quickly give some of these a bit of a contrast. Just scoot along there. Just want to see the edge of that frame, just to make sure that that will stand out, which it will. So we can come along there with a bit of that. And then I shall let this dry and then see how everything settles down and that. And then I shall probably come back at the road surface and give it a bit of TLC, some washes and things like that, just to see whether or not we can get everything to blend a little bit better. But at this stage, this is only its first layer. So a bit of finagling shall be had. But all in all, it's quite a nice little corner of the world there. So we're not far off of calling it a wrap on this little episode. So I think on the next episode I would have had the 3D printed plaques and all of that will be done, and they'll be ready to go on. And then we can start doing the chipping fluid and then putting on the corrugated metals and things like that and detailing the drums. And I think probably one more episode and this is going to be wrapped up. So I would like to thank everyone for watching me. All my YouTube channel members, look out for the list on the end of the video there in the credits. All my lovely patrons, stay safe, stay well everyone. Tune in obviously to the Sunday brunches on a Sunday and the Wednesday at the bench shows that I do with my friend Dave. Tune also in to the E-Models Monday show with me, Fox, Ted and Chris. And until then, take care everyone, love you all, and see you in the next episode. Thank you and bye-bye.